Hello, my friends. Welcome back to our class. I'm Master Qingyun. If you are here for this lesson, it means that from our previous session, you have understood and accepted one thing. Qi is not some abstract notion. It can be felt directly by your body. In our last lesson, we truly perceived the presence of Qi for the first time. As many of you practiced, you may have felt a gentle warmth in your palms, and your body gradually relaxes, perhaps even entering a graceful stillness. If that feeling was not yet so clear to you, you may reach out to our coach and ask for further guidance to deepen your experience and feeling. So, if you have not yet added our coach, do make sure to do so as soon as you can. And in today's lesson, we are going to take one more step forward. For many people, even though already know that Qi exists, there remains a more vital question not yet clearly understood. Why is it that some people feel more and more pain in the body? Why is it that some feel their inner state becoming more scattered? And why are there so many among you whose lives begin to feel weary and depleted, with spirit fading and even a sense of being lost? These questions on the surface may seem unrelated to one another, yet within the traditional path of nourishing life, they often point toward the very same core imbalance. It is the qi within the body whose flow has fallen out of harmony. So in this lesson today, we'll explore one thing together. How does qi move from smooth and vibrant flow and then, in time, turn into a state of blockage? Before we continue any further, let us begin with a very simple self-check. You will need no instrument for this. Only a quiet moment to observe the state of your own body. That is all. Follow my guidance and practice with me. First, close your eyes and ask yourself a few quiet questions. Recently, have there been moments when you noticed certain states, such as your shoulders always feeling held tight, stiff, guarded, and unable to truly let go? Second, do you at times feel a heaviness in the chest and find yourself sighing without even meaning to? And perhaps your breath has grown shallow, as though your qi is never quite enough, as though the breath will not fully enter, and the rhythm has become quicker as well. Or perhaps it feels as though a mass of qi is gathered in the chest and remains there, unmoving. And then there is the head, which may begin to feel heavy, as though the whole mind is no longer fully available to you, no longer clear and bright, perhaps even causing you to forget things more often. And there is also this, your emotions. Do they at times become unsettled for no clear reason, more easily stirred to irritation, or quick to fall into inner disorder, so that even the smallest thing causes strong emotions? Or perhaps certain parts of the body keep returning to the same soreness and ache. And when these states appear, you may notice they do not leave so easily. If such things arise only once in a while, then it may mean your qi has only paused for a brief moment and is still within a normal range, still able to return to balance. But if these states appear again and again, even once or twice in a week, or continue accumulating over a long while, then little by little, they may become your normal. And that may be revealing one thing. The qi within you has already grown scattered and begun to block. For many people, before any larger problem fully appears, the body will first pass through such a stage. It begins with something occasional, appearing from time to time, and only later does it lead to something deeper. It's just that normally no one teaches us to observe this, so you don't think these problems mean much. So from here, we will slowly come to see more clearly what is truly happening, how qi begins to fall into disorder within the body, and then how it moves step by step toward blockage. Within the traditional paths of nourishing life, many wellness issues do not arrive all at once. More often, they unfold through a process before they appear, and this process can roughly be seen in 3 stages. The first stage is when qi begins to lose its natural rhythm. For instance, your breathing starts to fall out of order. Then the breath grows shallow. And when it grows shallow, certain parts of the body, such as the shoulders, begin to tighten. Then the chest starts to lose the fullness of its rise and fall. And even your complexion, little by little, shifts into something dimmer, more ashen, less vibrant. That naturally radiant color in the face begins to fade. And at this moment, it has not yet become a true blockage. It is simply that the rhythm of qi within the body is no longer moving with ease. It has grown disordered. It is like a river that once flowed in a steady way. The current at one moment runs fast, at another grows slow, and in certain places begins to circle in on itself, forming small whirlpools in the flow. Then comes the second stage. In this stage, certain parts of the body begin to enter a state of stagnation. Or rather, this condition starts to remain for longer stretches of time. At this point, qi within the body begins to catch and hesitate. And many of you will clearly feel it through the neck, the shoulders themselves, or in other places that grow more and more stiff. And at this time, you may begin to notice that the breath no longer moves smoothly, or that there is a dull heaviness within. Even along the ribs, there may appear a feeling that is not quite natural, perhaps a sense of fullness or pressure. And during this period, the head may also feel persistently heavy and unclear, and you tire more easily. And this feeling, in truth, is often a sign that qi has begun to linger in certain places. Then comes the third stage. Here, the sensations become far more obvious. And these clearer sensations, once they appear, tend to remain for longer as well. For example, it may show up in ways many of you know well. First, you begin to feel soreness in the shoulders. You feel the ache clearly. It is not because you moved the wrong way just once. You may feel that soreness remain for quite some time. And when it reaches this point, even your sleep will begin to suffer in a noticeable way. You may feel unable to fall asleep or unable to wake refreshed, and your emotions as well begin to move with greater instability. You become more easily irritated and unsettled. These are the kinds of changes that start to arise, and in other parts of the body, discomfort will begin to appear as well. So many people may assume that it is simply because work has been too intense or because they have not rested well, and that it came on all at once. But in truth, it did not. It has already passed through these 3 stages before finally revealing itself. And this third stage is your body speaking to you very clearly. It's no longer merely a passing disorder or a brief moment of stagnation. It has already reached the stage of slowed inner circulation, a state of clear blockage. Now, let's do a very simple test. Please follow along with me and do as I guide. First, gently lift your shoulders. Tuck the chin in slightly. Then, let the chest draw inward just a little, and lightly set the teeth together. Simply hold this position and remain in this posture for 10 seconds. Come, do it together with me. Lift the shoulders, tuck the chin, draw the chest inward. Set the teeth together lightly. Good. Now relax. Now feel into the state you were holding just a moment ago. All of that change happened within only 10 seconds. Think back for a moment and ask yourself whether once the teeth were set, the whole body tightened, and after that tightening became stiff. Did you notice your breathing becoming more hurried and your breath turning shallow as well? Perhaps you could even clearly feel that your whole being entered a state of high tension and the shoulders as well became stiff. Let's look back carefully and see whether this was so. Now, follow me and relax again. Relax and take 3 deep breaths. Follow my rhythm. Together, let us breathe in. Breathe out. Once again, breathe in. Breathe out. One more time, breathe in. Breathe out. Actually, the little test we just did simply compressed the process into 10 short seconds. Yet this process is the state many people live in throughout the day. When you are working under great intensity, all of your focus is gathered on a single task. The body is often already in a tightened state. It's only because of the work itself that your attention is not resting on feeling the body, and so you fail to notice it, since your awareness in that moment has been placed elsewhere on what you're doing. So the purpose of the little test we just did was to bring your awareness back to the changes unfolding within your body. And if this change is only brief, then that is good news, my friends. It means your body is still able to restore and recharge itself, and it can return rather quickly. But if this state lingers for too long, and even after 3 deep breaths, you still cannot truly let go, it means your body is already sending you a serious signal, especially when this state seems to remain with you at all times or stays lodged in certain places. Then it means your body has already entered a deeply imbalanced state. It's telling you that if you do not begin to adjust, you may become completely depleted. Even if you feel that qi has grown unsettled, there is no need to be anxious. This can, in fact, be guided back into harmony through breathing. And next, let's try a more immersive experience, one that helps bring disordered qi back into a smoother flow. This practice is called regulating the breath, or harmonizing qi. Among my disciples, this is the most beloved practice. Let me walk you through the method itself now, and a few things to keep in mind before you begin. First, before practicing, empty the bladder and bowels and wear clothing that is loose and comfortable. At the same time, choose a quiet place. Second, you should warm up first. Gently open and loosen the joints of the body and let them move fully and freely. Then third, once the body has opened, we go through all movements. Once you've handled all movements well, then we begin the practice. Because if the joints have not opened, the body cannot move in a connected way. And if the movement is not yet familiar, it becomes difficult to truly sense the qi. Okay, now, follow me and the practice together. Place your feet about shoulder width apart. Then, as the palms begin to lift upward, inhale through the nose. Must lift when breathing in. Then when the palms arrive at the level of the collarbone, turn the palms, and the moment they turn, begin to exhale, breathing out through the mouth. Turn the palms and exhale, then press downward. And when the hands reach the navel, press outward. And after you complete the push, the breath by that point should have just fully emptied. When the palms turn back again, take in a new breath. Make sure you're breathing in through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Then turn the palms and exhale. Then once again, turn the palms and inhale. Then turn the palms and exhale. When you practice this movement, there are 2 things to remember. First, the inhale must be smooth. You must not continue forcing the inhale once the breath is already full. That is wrong. Do not force the breath. When it feels full enough, that is enough. Second, when you breathe out, use your mouth. And the key of your exhale is the same as your inhale. Don't force the exhale if you've emptied your breath. It's wrong to keep forcing more out when there is nothing left. So if it takes you 10 seconds to breathe in, then give yourself the same 10 seconds to breathe out. The timing should be proportionate. Of course, each person's lung capacity is different. So for some, inhaling may be 10 seconds, while for others, it may be 15. That difference in timing is natural. The length of your inhale reflects your lung capacity, and the purpose of this practice is to help your qi return to a smoother flow. Now, follow my rhythm. Follow the cues I give. Let's practice 3 times. Breathe in through the nose. Turn the palms and breathe out, lifting the palms when breathing in. Turn the palms and breathe out. One more. Breathe in. Breathe out. Then bring the hands together and rest them over the navel. Allow yourself to relax. Good. Now that you have learned the movement, practice together with me. This time, I will not call out each cue. We'll practice 9 rounds. In every round, your breathing should follow exactly what I have just explained. And all of your attention must rest on the breath itself. How you are taking a breath and how you are giving a breath. Your awareness must remain there so that you can fully feel and immerse yourself in the experience. Okay, start from now on. I'll bring you back when the practice is done. You may also close your eyes. When you finish, slowly open the eyes. Then, if you wish, bring the hands together again and rest them over the navel. Then relax. Feeling your hands resting on the core of your body's qi. During this process, some of you may feel unaccustomed and may feel unsteady. If so, simply practice with the eyes open. You get used to it after a few more times. Now relax. Let's take a thorough review. As you were practicing just now, did you notice any changes arising in the body? For example, as you breathed, did you feel a current of qi moving through the palms? Or perhaps a gentle warmth flowing there? And also, did you notice the shoulders beginning to soften? And further, did you feel the breath becoming noticeably smoother or perhaps the chest opening more clearly than before. Simply notice whether these changes appeared for you. If you did feel these things, then it tells us something important. Your qi has begun to move in a smoother way. Many people assume it is because they suddenly felt better, or because the body simply relaxed on its own. But in truth, the order is the other way around. It is not because your mind let go that qi became smooth. Rather, when qi begins to move smoothly, only then can the body truly relax. And only then can the heart and mind gradually settle. That is why the ancients said, when qi is smooth, the body rests at ease. When qi is smooth, the heart rests in peace. So, when qi begins to move freely, only then can the body remain in a centered, upright, and comfortable state. And only then can the inner world become truly calm and steady. Today, I would like to share with you a true story. Perhaps within this story, you may find a deeper kind of insight. There was once a student of mine. Her last name is Zhang. When she first came to see me, her whole condition was already quite poor. Whether in spirit, mind, or qi, or in the state of her body, she was clearly depleted. Even when she walked, her face looked pale. Her breath could not keep up, and there was a heavy tightness in the chest, as though one full breath could never quite arrive. And at times, even while working, you could feel that her qi was moving in a very strained, and her whole presence seemed to droop. She carried that spirit-faded state with no vitality at all. Even after only a few extra steps or climbing a few stairs, her breath would no longer keep pace, and she would be left panting. Truly, this was a very weakened state. At that time, she was deeply frightened. She thought perhaps a serious illness had appeared. So she went to the hospital, and after the checkup, the doctor told her that in fact, the body showed no major problem. Nothing serious had been found. But her qi was weak and depleted, and she could feel that herself. Her body was in constant discomfort. Later, through speaking with her, I came to understand that the greatest pressure in her life was coming both from work and daily life. The strain of work caused by working overtime till midnight day after day had left her completely drained. Her mind and nervous focus were living in a state of constant tension and over-concentration. And whenever she returned home, her emotions would easily flare up. Often, over very small matters, she would end up arguing with her husband. There was even one time when the two of them nearly divorced, and her relationship with her son had also grown very strained. Once, she asked her son, "If your father and I were to separate, who would you choose to stay with?" And her son answered her quite directly, "I would still choose to stay with Dad." So when she heard those words, her whole inner state grew even darker. Later, when she expressed her gratitude to me, she said, "Master, I feel as though my whole being has been holding in one breath all this time. I always feel that there is a deep heaviness pressing inside my heart." Actually, the first time I met her, it was already very clear to see that the toxic qi around her was harsh and heavy. So later, I guided her into deep breathing. Let the breath to regulate the qi within her body. At the beginning, she simply could not find what to feel. But after several rounds of steady practice, her attention gradually began to gather, and her heart and mind began slowly to grow quiet. When she finally sensed the qi, and in that very moment, her breath turned smooth, she suddenly began to cry. And she said, "Master, I feel as though I have not truly breathed for a very long time." After that, she stayed with the practice for a long period. Little by little, she found that the trapped breath in her chest and that long-held heaviness of emotion began to lessen. As her breathing practice continued and the breath became more and more smooth, her whole state, that long-held tension, began to loosen in an obvious way. It was as though, in a single instant, the burden on her shoulders had finally been set down. After several months of practice, the toxic qi within her gradually faded away, and what began to appear instead was a more peaceful presence. Of course, What I am saying here may sound a little abstruse. However, there are many expressions of qi within the human body. For example, when emotion rises and you lose your temper, that is what Chinese call spleen qi, describing there's a fire in your spleen. And when your mind bears thoughts and your heart bears emotions for too long, it can gradually form a toxic qi. All of this will be explained more deeply in further program. For those of you who feel called to go further, may talk to your coach to learn more about the details. As for Zhang, after practicing Qigong, many parts of her life began to improve. Her tension with her family eased, and she developed a rapport relationship with her husband. Even her son became more understanding. Later, she said something to me that I still remember to this day. She said, "It turns out life was not too hard. It was just that all along we had never found the breath that truly belonged to us. And truly, in many moments, it is not life itself that crushes a person. It is that one held breath within, the qi no longer moving smoothly, that leaves the body to carry one trouble after another. And they, in turn, disturb the flow of qi even more, forming a vicious cycle. But when you truly find that one breath and allow qi to return to a smooth flow, the whole body begins to feel lighter and more at ease, and the emotions, too, begin to settle. Then the relationships between people also, little by little, get on well." After hearing Zhang's story, many people may wonder whether such a change is just a coincidence. Actually, even many world-class figures have placed a great importance on regulating the qi. For example, the martial arts master Bruce Lee. Many people remember him for his speed, his power, and the height of his martial skill. But the truth is, within Bruce Lee's training, there was an especially important foundation, the same principle we have just spoken of, qi regulation. Every day, he practiced dedicated breathing exercises, guiding the breath gradually down into the lower abdomen, what we in martial practice often call the dantian. And in his training notes, he once wrote a line, "True strength comes from smooth qi." And within martial arts, there is another important principle, says, when qi is steady, the spirit grows at ease. And when the spirit is at ease, the body stands with stability. If a person's breath becomes disordered, the qi will also become disordered. And once qi is scattered, the movements become stiff and unfocused. And strength, too, loses its unity. But when the breath becomes deep and steady, and qi is able to settle, then the body's strength can gather into one place. That is why, before many training sessions, Bruce Lee would first spend time regulating the breath, let the breathing gradually sink and settle, allowing his inner qi to become steady. Only then would he begin his training.
It means you see. When you rush, you react. When you slow down, you choose. That's where control comes from, not force.
And actually, you may notice that this follows the very same principle as the practice we just did. Just now, as you slowly adjusted the breath, did you feel the shoulders begin to soften? Did the chest open with more space? And did your qi begin to flow smoothly? When qi begins to smooth out, the body starts to relax, and the spirit, too, begins to loosen. So you will notice, whether it is an ordinary person or a master martial artist, such as Bruce Lee, they all begin with the same thing, bringing qi back into harmony. Because only then, not only the body grows lighter, but the heart and mind also relax, become more at ease, and the strength within can be stimulated much more easily. But here, there is an even deeper question. Why is it that for some people, a small adjustment brings quick relief, while for others, even after some improvement, the same patterns return years later? This tells us that the issue may not be blockage alone, but there is also a deeper possibility. The qi itself has grown scarce. In other words, when you feel blocked within, it may be that not only has your qi become disordered or obstructed, but even more deeply, your qi has grown deficient, reduced, weakened, and no longer abundant. And when qi grows weak, the body ages more quickly, and the pain begins to take hold. So in our next lesson, we will go deeper into your life energy itself, as though we were looking at the water level of a reservoir. Where, in truth, does that level now stand? Many of the issues that keep returning for you may not be about blockage alone, but about life energy that has already begun to slowly run low. And this is exactly what, in our next lesson, we will explore together.